What's happening, Phoenix entrepreneurs? I hope you guys are ready to jump into this episode with the interview with Nick Bitton. He recently was in Miami during Hurricane Irma, so you're going to want to listen to this episode. It's full of tons of value. So I hope you guys are ready to rise from the ashes and conquer the day.
Alex Billadu presents the Phoenix Entrepreneur Podcast, where you learn what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur and rise from the ashes and conquer the day.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome, Phoenix entrepreneurs. This is Alex Billadu, your host of the Phoenix Entrepreneur Show, and today we have an awesome guest, Nick Bitton. And Nick has served multiple positions in his career. However, being a preschool teacher was one of his greatest. He served as an advocate at the state level for children and special education. He is a graduate from one of the oldest private military academies in the nation, which is Norwich University, earning a Bachelor's of Arts and a Bachelor's of Science, receiving his Master's of Education from the University of Vermont. He has several professional publications, hosts weekly networking events, and has given public speaking engagements in multiple regions around the country. A former college player where he also won several championships, Nick still enjoys working out and the game of football, which of course it's football season right now. He has started several companies and currently owns several real estate properties. His community involvement throughout the year started at a young age when he received the rank of Eagle Scout to volunteering at the Special Olympics, and still advocates and donates many veteran nonprofits. Nick is active on all social media accounts and has become a brand advocate to two lifestyle brands. Nick is really a hustler. He's an entrepreneur, and I'm excited to have you on the show, Nick, and especially talk about just all you have going on right now. We were just talking about some of the different things with the hurricane because he's down in Miami. Unfortunately, he's had some losses down there. But, Nick, maybe just fill in some of those blanks. Tell us a little bit about your life, personal life, what you got going on right now.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me. As stated, right now I'm in South Florida. Absolutely enjoying this time and trying to stay as positive as possible with everything that's happening down here, and just fully understanding that, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we all experience things outside of our control. And really, I try to find that whenever something happens outside my control, I try to focus on what I can control. I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
So the big thing is just keeping a positive attitude, and just keep working, keep hustling, keep going as hard as possible. And that's all we can do as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's so true. As an entrepreneur, you've got to be optimistic, and you've got to look at the things that you can control in life and what the things you can't, because as an entrepreneur, we're going to have the high moments, we're going to have the low moments. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. And if you're not an optimistic person or a happy person, then it's going to be really difficult to succeed as an entrepreneur. So I think you've definitely got the mentality for that, to keep pushing and being optimistic and just control what you can control.
Exactly. And I find that is definitely, your effort that you put into things and your attitude. And I'm sure most of your listeners can definitely agree to those two very important things.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. So just to kind of start off, Nick, I like to ask a question, and it's a fun fact. Just maybe something a ton of people don't know about you, something kind of unique. I just like to kind of break the ice there so the audience can kind of feel that connection with you. What's something, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but a fun fact, something that maybe a lot of people don't know about you?
Yes, the most unique fun fact about me is actually I don't do drugs, but I don't drink either, like at all. I'm completely sober, and people, and you see me at an event and you think I'm drinking and talking to everyone, and I do not. I don't remember last time I've touched alcohol or drugs of any way. And it's kind of a strange thing, like at all. I go to weddings, I don't drink at all. And people are surprised, and that's kind of my little secret to myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm the same way, actually. I haven't drank, and I feel like there's a big movement in the entrepreneur community actually right now with that. You know, I don't know if you know James Swanwick. He has a 30-day no alcohol challenge, and people that are taking that challenge are just, they feel better. They lose weight in their faces and their bodies, and they just, you know, your mind can be, I think, more clear as an entrepreneur just to always be on looking to go to that next level.
Yes, and you know, we just talked about things you can control. And I often found that, you know, people get drunk and they do, you know, even though there's nothing illegal about drinking, it's like you lose control of yourself. And it's, as an entrepreneur, I really took a big leap of not drinking and taking care of myself. I do wish I ate a little healthier, but I guess I can justify it by not drinking.
Yeah, and step by step, right? I mean, we're not all perfect today. You know, we're always progressing, especially as entrepreneurs. We're you know, I'm always trying to get better. I'm trying to implement better routines, you know, so we can optimize our best self. And I think it's just a process, you know, and we develop over time. Exactly.
So that's my little my secret that really not that many people know, and I really don't care if people I don't care if people know. You know, that's who I am. I've learned to love myself without alcohol or drugs in me, and I don't judge people for doing that. And I hope one day, like, people can start seeing the world crystal clear, like I believe I can.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, do you have a book out? I've seen, Nick. Did you?
Yes. I've recently written a book entitled "Lessons from the Little Ones," and the book is technically a nonfiction book. And many people ask me, you know, is this book written for parents? And the biggest thing is it's not written for parents. It's written for people who want to better themselves.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. And how long has the book been out? Where can we find it? You know, I love when you have stuff going on like that. I love the audience to be able to find that stuff.
That's, obviously, you know, you can get it in bookstores, like the big bookstores if they're still around, Barnes & Noble and whatnot. But most importantly, I think we could all agree that Amazon rules the world. So that's probably your best bet to find books is definitely on Amazon. You just search Nicholas Bitton, and you can see both my books there. But it's a very unique written book because it takes my experiences, and those consist of military training, college football, all of my education, and I really discuss and talk about how I learn more observing children than any other formal education, and kind of really bucks the system. And in some ways, it's a little controversial, and people don't really like to hear what I wrote because, you know, as much as you say, you know, I have 2 bachelors and a master's, I haven't used those in years as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. And I've actually done some Facebook Lives, and I've talked about that on the podcast before, where I personally think the public education system right now is quite broken. I feel like what you get for your money and the education level, and yeah, if you're going to become a doctor, a lawyer, yeah, you need to go to school for the time and do that. But there's just so many other things where I just think it's broken. I think people can go to become a developer. I mean, there's programs out there to become a developer in 12 weeks where it's hardcore 12 weeks, and they're getting hired after a 12-week program and making $60,000 rather than going to school for 4 years and get $100,000 in debt. I mean, it's just, I feel like the public education system's a little bit broken. I feel like there's some people trying to innovate in it, but I think we have a long way to go before that happens.
Yes, and specifically as an entrepreneur, my story is unique. I've always known that my purpose is to help as many people as possible. I know that with every fiber in my body, but, you know, as I grow and my experiences change, my thought process, how I can help people constantly changes as well. And I thought going to grad school and becoming an administrator at a school was going to change my life forever. And I was still working 2 jobs for another person while having a graduate degree. And I woke up one day and I said, I'm sick of this.
Yeah, so you were in that. You're working 2 jobs with a graduate degree. What did you do? How did your entrepreneur journey start? Where's the beginning of it? You know, what did you do?
You know, I think entrepreneurs, it's like a thought process where, you know, the journey really began probably in like middle school elementary school when I was selling my Pokemon cards to friends and
yeah.
quarters off the ground, and I remember school lunch was like 75 cents, and I would always ask the friends for quarters, and I would have like an obsession with quarters and stacking money, and that's just at a younger age. But I really fed into it. I hit one point. I lived up in Vermont, which is a similar climate to you out in Utah. And I remember one day I looked at my electric bill, and the average temperature for the month of January was -7 degrees. Ugh. And for the whole month. And I love it. It's so beautiful. I was just up there, and I woke up. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm done. And I hit that breaking point, and I knew the only way I can truly be done is if I told the world that I was quitting my job and doing something drastic. So I put it all over social media, knowing that my friends and family would then, hold me accountable. My parents didn't understand it. I don't even think they still understand it to this day. But I went to my school. I realized I was just not, I don't want to say not happy, but I was just okay. And as entrepreneurs, like being okay is nothing. I don't want that. I either want things to be really, really great or like things are horrible. I don't like that like okay, happy medium area, because that's, to me, in my opinion, that's where we stop growing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like as an entrepreneur, the lows and the highs are like our oxygen, right? Like we're going about every day and we need those super highs. We're not okay with just the 9 to 5 of just going to the day job and then coming back at 5 in the evening and going through that. Like that's just, I mean, people's lives are okay, but we want to live on that different level of high, almost like as you're high on drugs, but like that's what, as an entrepreneur, our high is, succeeding or failures and ups and downs. And we live for those moments, I think.
Exactly. And that's how I felt. So I hit that point in my life where, I quit my job. I quit my 2 part-time jobs. I was managing a bar, and, sadly I was making more money at the bar than I was as a teacher with degrees. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
And I would always see how much money I made a weekend as a manager at the bar, but then I would see how much money the owners made, and they didn't even show up. So actually, real estate was a big tipping point for my entrepreneur journey. I bought a condo at the age of 24, and I was actually renting out my bedroom and the second bedroom, and I was sleeping on the couch making about $75 a month, not paying one bill. And I would tell all my friends, I'm like, yeah, I was the first one to buy a house. I thought it was a great idea. And I was sleeping on the couch of my own house just so I can cash flow a little bit of money. And I knew real estate would be my journey to entrepreneurship.
That's awesome. And now it sounds like you've got several properties and just continue on the up and up, right?
Yes, I have 9 units right now. And I have good amount of equity, so I'm in this tipping point where I'm like, do I just sell everything and go all in like a 36 unit apartment building, or do I just hold on, because I have properties scattered throughout the country, to be honest with you. And so I'm in like this weird point as an entrepreneur. I'm like, do I just go all in again, and hopefully it works out again.
Yeah, I mean, you're in one of those points right now of the growing moments and the challenging. And if we're not, as an entrepreneur, if we're not being challenged, it's not fun. So sounds like it's quite the journey right now. But I'd love to dive into, with the theme of the podcast being the Phoenix Entrepreneur and rising from the ashes, I would love to dive into now you telling us a story of your lowest moment as an entrepreneur and then what you've done to rise up past that and conquer the day.
That's great. I definitely, and I've had 2 moments. Obviously, I want to talk about my most recent one, which was this Hurricane Irma that, just affected the whole southeast part of, the country and the islands. That tipping point, that beginning point of becoming an entrepreneur, where I was sleeping in my office on a mattress for about 5-6 months, showering in a bathroom because there was no shower there, and a piece of Tupperware. And that's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And I sacrificed my comfort of living, my great job, to start up a company. And that's what my first 4 months in that company was. I would go to the gym to shower, and sometimes the gym wasn't open, and I would have to shower into my bathroom, and then I'll show up. I'll wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning on an air mattress, and I will, I'll put on a nice set of clothes, and I would do my business. And not a lot of people knew that, what I was doing between like 10 p.m. and 6 o'clock in the morning. That's what I had to do to grow my company, to truly become an entrepreneur. My journey, absolutely disgusting looking back on it, but and then all of a sudden I had like 5 or 6 employees, and I can afford rent, and I can afford nice things. So it's if you're at that beginning stage of that entrepreneurship and maybe not cash flow in any way and struggling, everything passes, right? Every bad experience, it passes. And that's a beautiful thing. As long as you stay positive and focused on your goals and your dreams, those will pass.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think as an entrepreneur, you've got to be in it for the long haul. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think so many people think, just entrepreneur sounds cool. I can make some quick money and be successful and call it a day. And I think you can't do that. If you're in entrepreneurship for the money, you're in it for the wrong reasons, and you're most likely maybe not have the successes that you would expect. And I think, man, you sacrifice so much, and that's why I started this podcast, because I love talking to entrepreneurs like yourself, Nick, that just you've been in those super, super low moments, and just to inspire those that are listening that they can do it. Like, they might not be at that low of a moment. Their low moment might be they haven't had a sale in a week or something. It just, but just to keep inspiring people that you keep going and you keep pushing, and good things will happen.
Yes, and very uniquely, just within the past 10 days, we had that hurricane as well. And, on social media, I was getting some big time negative attention because I was making videos, Periscope videos, Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives before the storm, talking about how it's like, don't let the storm affect your personality, all this stuff, trying to be as positive and helping people. And then ironically, I was supposed to sell one of my properties for a $70,000 profit, and that fell through because of the storm. But then I experienced about $26,000 of damages. Oh. And this is all within a week. And if you guys check me out on social media, you're going to see some stuff that raise some people's eyebrows, because I was just so optimistic and positive. Like, this storm is coming. There's nothing we can do about it. It really bothered me because the week before the hurricane came, so many stores were shutting down. And I'm like, it's 95 degrees and sunny. How is nobody working right now? Yeah. And it drove me nuts. And me and my wife, we don't see eye to eye with that often. She's very empathetic and sympathetic, and I'm very entrepreneur driven. Like, no, these people should be working. They have a right to their customer. But 4 days before the hurricane came, it was 90 degrees and sunny, the calm before the storm, and businesses were shutting down left and right. And it infuriated me. Yeah. Infuriated. And this storm came, and I lost right around $100,000. Granted, I got a deal with insurance. I'll probably get that back. Not really concerned about it. But in 1 week, $96,000 down last week. And to me, at one point, I thought $100,000 was a lot of money. And now I can laugh about, okay, I lost $100,000 in 1 week. What can I do this week to potentially make that money back?
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think it's just because you've stuck with it. You went from the low moment, you're at a different moment, and you're at a different level in the entrepreneur game for yourself, that you can just $100,000, keep moving forward. It's just you're at a different level, which is awesome, and that's the goal of entrepreneurship, is to continue leveling up, right? Go to that next level, go to that next level, go to that next level, to where if it was $1 million, you would have been like, well, let's just keep going. That's the level that I'm trying to get to, and it sounds like you're going those same directions.
Exactly, and I actually moved down to Miami because a gentleman named Grant Cardone, who's written 5 best-selling books. I met up with him several times down here, and he has a quote that says, have goals and inspiration so big that your problems are pale in comparison, right? So me losing $100,000 has no effect on my goal of making $100 million.
Yeah.
Right? It's nothing. It's like so I need to focus when things don't go your way. You need to focus on like, what is my goals? How is this affecting my goal? We all have goals, we all have dreams, we all have visions, but losing $100,000 does not mess up that goal for me.
Yeah, it's just just something that's in the side of your view, and you're pushing forward to the top of the stairs. Just I love that quote. You don't have to see the top of the stairs to take the first step, and you've taken the first step, and maybe you still can't see the top of the stairs, but you're still pushing, you're still going forward, and that's what we all have to do as entrepreneurs. Just don't give up. I feel like so many entrepreneurs give up too early. From the book Think and Grow Rich, with the story about striking gold, and they were only 3 feet from gold because they quit digging, and then someone came in and started digging, and 3 feet they struck the biggest pay streak ever. And I feel like that's what you've just got to do as an entrepreneur, is you've just got to keep pushing no matter what the problem is.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And really, my book diverges into the lessons that I learned from children, and we all have what it takes to be successful. At one point or not, you learn how to talk, you learn how to walk, and as a kid, we all fell down, right? But we got back up, and it sounds very cliche. So if you're, as I've written in my book, if you're falling, you're having a hard time right now, back when you were a kid, you would just wipe off the dirt and keep going, and that's what we need to do as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as members of the society.
Yeah, I actually did an interview with Daniel Geffen. I don't know if you're familiar with Daniel Geffen, but we talked pretty much the whole episode about that and children, because he has 4 children of his own and I have 2, and just we need to dream like children again, because children, they dream of being astronauts and going to the moon, and their dreams are big, and then they get crushed when they get older, and we need to change that mentality, and we need to dream big again, and we need to dream of what we want. If we want $100 million with a house on the hill, or if we want just $200,000 a year with a comfortable family, but yet you only work 3 hours a week, or whatever your goal is, I think we need to dream bigger and go for it, and quit being like adults and start acting more like children in a way.
Yeah, and I've written 2 books about that. I couldn't agree any more with that. And just I listen, I'm sure you do too, YouTube of like all these successful people and what they do, and visualization and the power of the mind is something very common amongst these people. Like, they visualize making $20 million, and then it happens. It's crazy, and that's what kids do as well.
Yeah, I think I love with Think and Grow Rich. It's a great book, and they talk about the auto suggestion. And I try to visualize what my next 2 years is going to be, and like I visualize myself in this place and being able to open my bank account and seeing how much is in my bank account, and just you've got to visualize it, and you've got to just go for it. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk has said since he was like 5 years old that he was going to own the New York Jets, and that man will own the New York Jets one day, because that's his dream, and he has it up there, and he's doing other things. I mean, it's not always on his mind because he's got so many things going on, but that's his ultimate goal, right, is to own the New York Jets. And so I think, most people probably looked at him when he was like 5 and 6, like, yeah, right, you're an immigrant, like, come on. So you just got to keep going and dream like kids and never give up on that dream.
Exactly, and I couldn't agree more. And all entrepreneurs just need to be focused on, truly like their mind and their positivity towards the world and everything that happens to them. And once we get there, we're going to start knowing a little bit of success.
Yep, and then with that success, we just build on it and keep going. So Nick, I like to ask it's kind of a random question, as we're kind of coming here towards the end. I like to just maybe throw some randomness into the podcast. That's kind of my personality. I like to ask, now as entrepreneurs, I know you probably don't watch a ton of TV or movies or anything, but what's your all-time favorite from either childhood or whenever, all-time favorite movie or TV show, and why?
That's believe it or not, Shark Tank. And I think that feeds into my entrepreneurship. That's probably the only show that when it comes on, I watch it religiously. And I love one, the personalities of those guys, how much money they have, and just watching people succeed. I think really most of America watches that show, and that's like I'm very, we're watching movies, me and the wife, and and I would just be on my computer doing the whole thing. But when Shark Tank comes on and that background music, it has my undivided attention.
I'm the same way. That's one of the shows that if I miss an episode, I go back and rewatch, and I think it encapsulates the American dream and people having successes and that there's still opportunity out there. And it just, you want to be like, as an entrepreneur, you're trying to get to be in that Shark Tank. You want to be in that Shark Tank as one of those sharks, in the future. And that, I watch Shark Tank, and I try to watch The Profit every now and then as well with Marcus Lemonis, because I learn a lot of business lessons from him. I know he's from your neck of the woods down there in Miami, so.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you. I watch those shows, and I feel like, when I was a kid and whatnot, you watch TV kind of, and sometimes I like mindless like TV shows just to take because I'm, entrepreneurs, we're working 20-hour days, right? Like 16, 18, 20-hour days. And it's like, okay, how can I kind of just unwind a little bit, and then your phone goes off and it just doesn't stop. But, 30-minute sitcoms are pretty solid, but Shark Tank gets me every single time. I hear that, the background music, and I'm done. My phone's irrelevant at that point, which is, I live off of my phone.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love the Shark Tank. That's one show that I watch. I do watch shows with my wife as well, just because you've got to have those times with your loved ones as well, I think, that are kind of your times and things that you do there. So what is something, Nick, that you do? I'd like to hear what different entrepreneurs, if they have routines or something they do every day that you feel like is pushing you to that next level, like a routine or something you do. What is something that maybe other entrepreneurs could take from you to implement, maybe to help them push and be more successful?
My daily routines, and I got a bunch of them. First and foremost is, honestly, every morning I wake up and I hit my knees. I don't want to talk about religion here. I don't know what or who I pray to, but I just say, thank you for this opportunity to crush the day. First thing I do every day. I do make the bed. Coming from a military background, I feel like having the discipline to make your bed and take care of yourself is essential. And then I have quiet time with my coffee where I write down my daily goals. And believe it or not, as I've gotten older, I've gotten less hyper focus on my daily goals, such as like I have to write down so detailed, like I need to eat healthy today, Nick. 3 check marks to eat healthy 3 times. Because if I don't write that down, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Those are, that's my morning rituals. That's my morning things. Hal wrote a book called, the morning routine, whatever it was. And, that's what I do every single morning. And I get focused on, and there was a point in my early 20s where I didn't have to write down, eat healthy, work out, but now I have to do that.
Yeah, sometimes I'm super hyper focused with my morning routine, and then I get away from it for some reason, and I feel blah. I don't feel my greatest. So I love getting back to my morning routine and trying to always do it and not get out of that habit of it, because I think the morning is where it all starts. It's how we get in our frame of mind and really get going.
Yes, it's a definitely beautiful thing.
So, Nick, it's been an awesome time having you on the podcast. I've loved you just dropping tons of value. And, as we're kind of wrapping this up here, what is some maybe final parting piece of advice you can give our audience? And then how can we find you, your book? How can we connect with you?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the time. Most importantly, as entrepreneurs, there's going to be ups and downs, but I see people all the time, they commit to being an entrepreneur, but they're afraid to go all in. If you make a little bit of a commitment, you need to go all in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
I see it all the time. It's like, I don't sell any like self-investment products whatsoever, but I firmly believe people need to invest in themselves as well. Invest in your mind, invest in your journey as an entrepreneur. I see that people will quit their job to start up a business, and then they're working, 9 hours a day. And it's like, well, what are you doing? Or they're playing video games for 20 hours a week. And it's like, well, you need to invest in yourself. Read books. In the year 2015, my goal was to read a book a week. And I failed at that goal. I read 50 books the whole year, which I believe is still like very impressive. And I just invested in expanding my mind as an entrepreneur. And then most importantly, I think social media is changing the world right now. Podcasts are changing the world. So definitely try to get in connection with me. I love interacting with people. I love having conversations with people. Find me on Twitter, Instagram. It's all NJ Britton. But, send me a message, and I want to connect with people. That's really what I want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. I mean, I love building connections as well. Some of the biggest things that have pushed me in my businesses and career is connecting with people like you, Nick, and, other influencers in the world. And it's been an awesome experience as a podcaster to build some really cool relationships with people. But not just being a podcaster can you do that. I think people just need to reach out to entrepreneurs. I feel like most entrepreneurs their doors are pretty open to helping other people. And when you're talking about reading a book, I'm not a big book person myself, but that's changed this year. I had a goal to read 6 books this year, and I've already read, I think, probably 12 or 15 books. I haven't counted, but it's changed because the books I've been reading have changed how I've done. I've read personal development books, I've read business books, Grant Cardone, 10X Rule, Richard Branson. I've been studying those high-level people, and it's been changing the game for me. So I think that's a huge tip and a huge advice, is to just always be educating yourself, whether it's books, masterminds, podcasts, any type of program or anything that can really take you to that next level.
Yes, I agree. And ironically about Mr. Cardone, you go on my Snapchat, he's one of my best friends because he replies to me all the time, and I met with him probably half a dozen times, had coffee with him, and that's all through social media and reaching out to him and, hey, you got 2 minutes of your time? How do you like your coffee? And I have his number in my phone right now. It's just crazy how, the power of social media is.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's super cool. And just, you've got to reach out. Phoenix entrepreneurs, reach out to people, connect with people, because that's where your life changes, is with those connections, with those people that can take you to that next level. And, Nick, thank you so much for coming on the Phoenix Entrepreneur Podcast Show. I know we'll have to have you on again in the future. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you for listening to the Phoenix Entrepreneur Podcast, where you learn what it takes to rise from the ashes and conquer the day. Do you want to be more productive every single day? Well, I have a special offer for you. Head over to riseuppodcast.com and subscribe, and you will receive a free productivity hacks worksheet so you can become more productive every single day, accomplish more, and reach your goals. One more thing, Phoenix Nation, could you all do me a favor and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast so I can continue sharing this message with the world? Thank you again for listening to the Phoenix Entrepreneur Podcast. Rise from the ashes and conquer the day.